As I weighed out the flour, my hands trembled and the metal spoons clanked noisily against the stainless steel bowl. Even though I had baked hundreds of wedding cakes in the past, my nerves were playing tricks on me today. This dessert was unique. This was no ordinary order. I was making it for my ex-boyfriend Jackson, the same man who previously said that I would only ever be a bakery lady from a little town. I hesitated for a second, holding on to the counter to keep myself stable. My chest tightened uncomfortably as memories filled my head. Years ago, Jackson had abandoned me, saying I lacked skill and desire and brushing off my goals with that reckless sneer of his. And now I was creating his wedding cake. I wasn't sure if it was fate or comedy. From the other side of the kitchen, Tabitha firmly stated, "You really need to cancel this order." She watched me mix the batter more vigorously than usual, clearly worried. "Scarlett, this isn't good for you." "I can't just cancel," I snapped back, my voice brimming with irritation. "This deal has the potential to make Sweet Memories Bakery well-known. Tabitha, are you aware of the number of powerful individuals that attend such weddings? Influential people?" Tabitha came closer and put a reassuring hand on my shoulder as she repeated incredulously, "We're talking about Jackson here. The same Jackson who tore your heart to pieces and then left, laughing at your hopes and aspirations." I took a deep breath to restore my calm and closed my eyes for a while. I excitedly turned away from the talk to remove a layer of vanilla sponge that was properly done when the oven timer beeped. Normally, the delicious scent of vanilla and butter would calm me, but today it simply brought back bitter memories of Jackson's favorite cookies that I had made the night he broke up with me. Whispering, "Tabitha, trust me, I remember everything," I delicately put the cake layer on the cooling rack. However, things have evolved. I've changed from the innocent, devastated girl I was back then. I currently own this bakery. I'm more powerful and prosperous on my own. Additionally, this work is important. Tabitha sighed, sensing my resolve but obviously not convinced. "All right, Scarlett. But swear to me that you will at least use caution. Keep your heart safe." As she walked out of the kitchen, I gave her a low nod while feigning confidence. Aware that I was entering a minefield, I gazed at the layers of cake that were slowly cooling. Nevertheless, a stubborn part of me wanted this in spite of the pain and anxiety. I had to prove to myself that I was more than Jackson had ever thought I was, not to him. Ahead, the Griffin estate towered, a menacing sight of immaculate lawns, marble columns, and limitless opulence. As I parked my little automobile among shiny luxury cars, each one quietly analyzing my appearance, my gut grew tight. I inhaled deeply before leaving with my cake portfolio in hand as a protection against whatever was ahead. A patronizing voice said, "Well, if it isn't our hometown baker behind me." My heart sank, instantly recognizing Chase's unmistakably smug tone. He leaned against the estate entrance, champagne flute already in hand despite the early hour. "Good morning, Chase," I responded calmly, forcing a polite smile. "Still celebrating at breakfast, I see. Some things never change." His jaw tightened slightly as laughter rose quietly from his circle of equally entitled friends. Before he could retort, the sharp click of high heels announced Miranda, the wedding planner, descending the steps with urgency. "Scarlett, thank goodness you're here," Miranda said briskly, guiding me gently but firmly away from Chase's scrutiny. "Let's quickly discuss the cake display area." Inside, the mansion buzzed with preparations, flowers being arranged, linens chosen, and silver polished to a flawless shine. Miranda led me to an ornate pedestal, explaining how they'd position lighting to highlight the cake. "It'll be spectacular here," I assured her, flipping open my portfolio to reveal detailed sketches. I was thinking cascading sugar flowers, something classic but memorable. "Scarlett Young," a voice dripping in superiority echoed through the hall, causing me to freeze momentarily. Sylvia, Celeste's notoriously arrogant sister, approached in a silk dress that screamed money. Her gaze drifted dismissively over me before settling on my portfolio. I suggested Celeste use a city bakery, but she insisted on supporting local talent. Your sister made the right choice, I replied steadily, fighting to maintain my professionalism. My bakery has won several awards. I'm confident I can handle this. Sylvia scoffed softly, flipping through my designs with feigned disinterest. Before I could respond further, familiar voices filtered in from the hallway. The roses are non-negotiable, Celeste. I don't care what your mother thinks. Jackson's voice cut clearly through my thoughts. My heart nearly stopped as he entered the room, Celeste gracefully at his side. He paused, visibly startled to see me. His gaze faltered, then quickly turned to a mask of indifference. Scarlett, he acknowledged stiffly. I didn't expect you'd actually take this job. I run a business, I replied evenly, meeting his eyes with more courage than I felt. I know how to separate personal matters from professional. Celeste stepped forward, her composed smile steady, but her eyes curious and thoughtful. Scarlett, your work is beautiful. Jackson and I have heard great things. We're glad you're involved. I blinked, momentarily thrown by the sincerity in her voice. It seemed genuine, a hint of respect behind her polished exterior. The air grew tense again as Chase joined us, deliberately breaking the moment with another sneer. Well, isn't this cozy? He mocked lightly. Scarlett's living out her cute bakery dream. Before Jackson could react, I calmly pulled out my tablet, displaying recent photographs. Actually, Sweet Memories was featured in Wedding Style magazine recently. These are from the governor's daughter's wedding. She was thrilled. A stunned silence settled over the group, Sylvia's brows rising involuntarily. Miranda cleared her throat, sensing the awkwardness. Let's finalize the schedule, Scarlett. As we walked away, I could feel Jackson's eyes still on me. But surprisingly, it was Celeste's quietly impressed gaze that lingered longer, leaving me both curious and strangely hopeful about what was to come. The cafe Celeste had chosen was quiet, tucked away on the outskirts of town, far enough that no one from her social circle would ever set foot inside. As I entered, I immediately spotted her, elegantly out of place in a faded booth near the back. She sat with her eyes fixed nervously on the door, relaxing slightly as she saw me approach. Scarlett, she greeted me softly, her voice barely louder than a whisper. Thank you for coming. I slid into the booth opposite her, wrapping my cold fingers tightly around the warm coffee mug a waitress quickly set before me. I'll be honest, Celeste. I'm not exactly sure why. I'm here, Celeste glanced cautiously around the empty cafe, leaning closer as she spoke. I'm asking you for help because you're the only one who might actually understand. I raised my eyebrows, unsure where this was headed. Understand what exactly? She hesitated, eyes clouded with apprehension, before carefully sliding her phone across the scratched tabletop. Swipe through those documents, please. Curious but wary, I picked up the phone, scrolling slowly through what appeared to be financial records, eviction notices, and unsettling emails. My stomach twisted painfully as I began piecing together the ugly picture of corruption and deceit that she'd placed into my hands. Your family did this? My voice trembled slightly, eyes locked on images of a demolished community center I'd known well, a place where kids once laughed and played. Celeste nodded solemnly, guilt heavy in her eyes. My father's company systematically exploits people, entire communities, for profit. Jackson's family helps facilitate it, smoothing everything over with their connections. They bury any consequences under money and influence. I looked up sharply. Then why marry him? Why become part of it? She closed her eyes briefly, looking deeply troubled. I thought I could change things from the inside, influence their decisions. But I was naive. This wedding, it's not about love. It's about combining two powerful families to further expand their reach. I sat back, trying to process everything she'd revealed. And why tell me all this now? Celeste took a steadying breath, her resolve strengthening visibly. Because we have an opportunity. On the day of the wedding, the people responsible, the investors, the politicians, they'll all be in one room. It's the only chance we'll ever have to reveal everything publicly. You want me to help expose your family at your own wedding? I asked incredulously, unable to hide the disbelief in my voice. I know how this sounds, Celeste admitted quietly. But you're already involved, Scarlett. They underestimate you, your bakery, your talent. They won't suspect anything from you. You can help me get the proof into the hands of the right people. I stared into my coffee cup, weighing my options. This was dangerous territory. You could lose everything, I whispered. Your family, your fiancé, your entire world. She reached across the table, gripping my wrist gently but firmly. Scarlett, I stopped having a family the moment I learned how they destroyed others. My loyalty isn't in my blood, it's to the people they hurt. My mind raced as I contemplated the consequences, the bakery, my reputation, everything I'd built. It was all at risk. But I couldn't forget those eviction notices, those communities stripped of everything. How could I ignore the truth now that it stared me in the face? Finally, I nodded slowly, determination overtaking fear. I'll do it. Not because of Jackson or even for you, but because everyone deserves justice. Even if it costs us both. Celeste exhaled deeply, relief flooding her expression. Thank you, Scarlett. You have no idea how much this means. I picked up the coffee mug again, trying to steady my nerves. Trust me, I murmured, meeting her gaze steadily. I think I do. Later that evening, Tabitha, Rhea, and I sat huddled together around my bakery's kitchen island, papers and USB drives scattered in front of us. My heart raced, adrenaline fueling my courage as I carefully detailed Celeste's explosive revelation. So let me get this straight, Tabitha said slowly, disbelief etched clearly across her face. We're hiding evidence of corruption in your wedding cake? I nodded solemnly. Celeste gave me everything we need. We just need a safe way to deliver the information without anyone noticing. Rhea picked up one of the delicate sugar flowers she'd recently crafted, turning it thoughtfully between her fingers. Suddenly, her eyes lit up with inspiration. What if we hollow out these sugar flowers? They're strong enough to hide something tiny, like these USB drives. That could actually work, I said, feeling hopeful for the first time. No one would question Celeste inspecting the flowers on her own wedding cake. Risky, Tabitha murmured, tapping anxiously on the counter, but brilliant. Our plan began to form quickly after that. Rhea set to work carefully hollowing out sugar petals, each delicate flower becoming a perfect hiding spot. Tabitha, using her legal expertise, listed reporters we could discreetly contact when the moment was right. Everything was falling into place, yet deep down, I knew the hardest part was yet to come. The following day, I was alone in the bakery, meticulously preparing a new batch of flowers, when Sylvia stormed in without warning, making my heart skip anxiously. Interesting, she remarked coldly, pacing slowly around the kitchen, her manicured nails grazing the countertop. You and Celeste have been spending an awful lot of time together lately, haven't you? I'm catering her wedding, I replied calmly, forcing my voice to stay steady. We're discussing cake details. It's literally my job. Sylvia's eyes narrowed sharply as she stepped closer. Don't play innocent, Scarlett. I saw you two at that cafe yesterday, exchanging something. Care to explain? I straightened, matching her cold stare. Wedding details, Sylvia. Nothing more. She moved closer, lowering her voice threateningly. Be very careful. Small-town bakeries can disappear overnight, especially ones mixed up in things they don't understand. Before I could respond, the bakery door opened again. My breath caught as Jackson stepped inside, suspicion clear on his face as he glanced between us. Is something going on here? He demanded sharply. Sylvia stepped back quickly, recomposing herself into a mask of perfect calm. Just finalizing cake details, she lied smoothly, her eyes still holding a dangerous gleam. Jackson's gaze settled on me, distrust heavy in his expression. Scarlett, I reviewed the latest cake plans. There's something off about the design. It feels overly elaborate, unnecessary. You approved this weeks ago, I reminded him calmly, sensing his growing suspicion. Everything was finalized by Miranda and Celeste. Well, now I have concerns, he said stiffly. I want to review every step of the cake's preparation personally. I met his gaze, refusing to flinch under the scrutiny. Jackson, it's a cake, not a criminal conspiracy. But feel free. Inspect whatever you'd like. I have nothing to hide. He hesitated, clearly unsettled by my confidence, before turning to leave. Sylvia followed silently, but not without throwing one last venomous glance my way. As soon as they left, my facade crumbled. My hands shook uncontrollably as I grabbed my phone, urgently texting Tabitha and Rhea. We need to move quickly. They're on to us. Their replies were instant, full of unwavering support. Despite the threats, the suspicion, the overwhelming risk, I knew backing down now wasn't an option. The truth had to come out. And we were the only ones brave, or perhaps foolish, enough to make it happen. I was in the bakery kitchen, carefully placing the last of the hollow sugar flowers into their special box when the door flew open violently, crashing against the wall. Sylvia stormed in, eyes blazing with fury. My heart jumped, but I stood my ground, refusing to give her the satisfaction of seeing me flinch. I knew you two were plotting something, she spat, striding toward me, heels echoing angrily on the tile floor. In her manicured hand was a photograph, Celeste passing me the USB drive at the cafe. Care to explain this? I swallowed hard, forcing a calm expression. That's private business between me and Celeste. It's none of your concern. Oh, it's very much my concern, Sylvia hissed, stepping even closer, her voice dropping dangerously. Do you have any idea what you're doing? You're not just playing with cakes. You're messing with people who could ruin your pathetic bakery in an instant. The bakery door swung open again, and Celeste rushed inside, breathless, eyes wide with alarm. She immediately positioned herself between Sylvia and me. Sylvia, stop this, Celeste pleaded, her voice firm despite the slight tremble. This has gone too far. Sylvia's eyes narrowed, piercing into her sister. Far? You're about to ruin everything, our family, your future, everything we've built. For what? Some ridiculous idea of justice. No, Celeste shot back, her voice unwavering now. Because I won't keep living a lie, destroying innocent people just so we can have lavish parties and designer clothes. This family isn't untouchable. Sylvia, no matter how badly you want it to be, Sylvia sneered bitterly, turning back to me. Scarlett, you have no idea what kind of storm you're creating. You think exposing us will fix things? All it will do is leave you ruined. I will personally make sure Sweet Memories never sees another customer. My pulse quickened, fear mixing with anger, but I refused to show weakness. Go ahead, I replied, matching her icy tone. Try your worst. But you're only proving exactly what we're exposing, people like you thinking they're above consequences. Sylvia clenched her fists, visibly shaking with rage. This is your final chance. Walk away, and maybe, just maybe, I'll forget this happened. Keep pushing, and I promise you'll regret ever crossing paths with my family. Celeste stepped even closer, her presence surprisingly fierce. We're not backing down, Sylvia. Not anymore. Sylvia stared at her sister, disbelief mingling with fury. Then you'll face the consequences too, Celeste. You think our father will forgive this betrayal? You'll be cut off from everything. Celeste lifted her chin defiantly. I'd rather lose everything than spend another day being complicit in what you've done. For a moment, Sylvia simply glared at us, the tension nearly suffocating. Without another word, she turned sharply on her heels and stormed out, slamming the bakery door so hard it rattled the windows. Celeste let out a shaky breath, her bravado fading into exhaustion. Scarlett, I'm so sorry. I never meant to drag you this deeply into my family's mess. It's okay, I said softly, steadying my voice. This isn't about revenge anymore. It's about making things right. I quickly texted Tabitha and Rhea. Sylvia knows everything. We have to accelerate the plan. Their replies buzzed back immediately, supportive and decisive. There was no hesitation. We knew we had to act fast. Celeste reached out gently, squeezing my shoulder, gratitude evident in her eyes. Thank you for standing by me. I took a deep breath, gazing at the sugar flowers we'd meticulously crafted, beautiful, fragile vessels carrying the truth that could change everything. We started this, I replied firmly, my voice stronger than ever. And now we're going to finish it. On the wedding day, the ballroom at the Griffin estate was buzzing with quiet anticipation, elegantly set tables glittering under crystal chandeliers. Rhea and I stood beside the grand display table, carefully arranging the towering six-tiered cake adorned with exquisite sugar flowers. Each flower concealed one of the USB drives Celeste and I had painstakingly filled with evidence. You okay? Rhea whispered, noticing my shaking hands. I have to be, I murmured, steadying myself as I secured another flower into place. This is our only chance. From across the room, Celeste approached in her bridal gown, her composure flawless, masking any internal turmoil. She paused beside us, gently touching a flower with hidden purpose. Everything ready? She asked softly. I nodded subtly. It's all in place. Before Celeste could reply, loud footsteps echoed sharply. Sylvia stormed into the ballroom, fury etched across her perfectly made-up face. Stop this madness, Celeste. Sylvia snapped loudly, drawing attention. Guests and wedding staff paused, startled by her tone. Do you have any idea the damage you're causing? Celeste turned calmly, her voice steady but firm. I know exactly what I'm doing. It's time everyone saw the truth. Jackson, alerted by the commotion, hurried in, his face darkening as he quickly assessed the scene. What's going on here? He demanded harshly, looking between Celeste, Sylvia, and me suspiciously. Sylvia's gaze flashed angrily toward me. They're hiding something in the cake. This whole setup, it's sabotage. My heart thundered as Jackson's cold gaze settled on me, eyes narrowing with suspicion and disbelief. You really went this far, Scarlett, he asked bitterly. Couldn't handle seeing me happy? It was never about you, Jackson, I replied, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. It's about everything your families have done. Everything hidden behind money and lies. Jackson stepped closer, visibly furious. You don't know what you're talking about. Celeste, stop this before it's too late. It was too late the moment you destroyed innocent lives for profit, Celeste declared, her voice rising, resonating clearly through the ballroom. Enough, Sylvia shouted, lunging suddenly toward the cake, determined to prove her point. I'll show you exactly what they've hidden. I instinctively stepped between her and the cake, but Sylvia's momentum was too great. She shoved past me, her hands grabbing at the cake. Tears. The towering masterpiece tilted dangerously, wobbling for one sickening moment before crashing violently to the floor in an explosion of crumbs and shattered sugar flowers. Guests gasped, some recoiling as fragments scattered dramatically across the polished marble. Sylvia stared in shock at the chaos she'd unleashed, then frantically knelt, digging through the debris. Where are they? Sylvia hissed, panic rising in her voice as she crushed a sugar flower, revealing a small USB drive hidden within. Her eyes widened in horror as whispers erupted around the room. You were right, Rhea murmured beside me. This is bigger than I ever imagined. Doors burst open again and uniformed police officers hurried in, accompanied by Tabitha and a group of reporters. Cameras flashed wildly, capturing the chaotic scene unfolding in real time. Jackson turned furiously toward me. Scarlett, what have you done? It wasn't just Scarlett, Celeste interjected loudly, facing her fiancé squarely. It was me. And I'd do it again. People deserve the truth. Officers stepped forward decisively, cuffing a protesting Sylvia. Others surrounded Jackson and several stunned family members, swiftly reading charges of corruption and fraud. The once elegant ballroom erupted into a frenzy of shouted questions, camera flashes, and disbelief. Tabitha hurried to my side, placing a protective hand on my shoulder. "Are you all right?" I nodded shakily, adrenaline still coursing through me. "Better than all right," I admitted softly, watching as authorities escorted Sylvia and Chase, both furiously resisting, out through the crowds. Jackson followed shortly after, visibly humiliated. Celeste approached quietly, wedding dress slightly torn, sugar dust still clinging to her fingertips. Her face held exhaustion and relief, mingled with an undeniable sadness. "Thank you, Scarlett," she whispered sincerely. "We did what needed to be done." Reporters began shouting questions at us now, their voices clamoring over each other in a desperate bid for our attention. "Scarlett, did you plan this?" "Celeste, how long did you know about your family's corruption?" Ignoring them, Celeste and I exchanged a quiet, meaningful glance. The truth was out, and there was no going back. Finally, Celeste turned to address the reporters, her voice clear and resolute. Today was about more than just bringing corruption to light. Justice was at issue. Scarlett and I were not going to be silenced by fear. The flashes became more intense. Tabitha gave me a gentle, comforting, and proud shoulder squeeze. "Scarlett, you just made a huge difference. For years to come, this will be remembered." I experienced a strong sensation of calm as the mayhem around us persisted. Jackson's treachery and retaliation were never the only factors at play here. The goal was to put things right. And I knew we had done just that as I stood there surrounded by the remains of a broken cake. Celeste and I stood confidently outside Sweet Endings and Beginnings, our recently established bakery, 6 months after the incident. Above us, the name gleamed, the newly painted letters glinting in the early morning light. The old Griffin structure was changed. The chilly marble facade and forbidding columns had been replaced with colorful paintings created by local artists and signs inviting everyone inside. Celeste added softly, "I still can't believe we did it," grinning at the families already entering and leaving, their laughter softly resonating down the street. "I can," I said, feeling a surge of warmth. We took something broken and rebuilt it into something beautiful. The bakery was doing well, better than before. The community center we had constructed next to it, however, was much more significant. For families uprooted by the avarice of Jackson and Celeste's old family, it provided daycare, job training, and assistance. It seemed like justice was being served each time someone entered. Tabitha and Rhea joined us while we watched, with Tabitha beaming confidently while holding paperwork for another community initiative, and Rhea wearing her chef's coat with pride. "You two ready for another busy day?" With warmth, Tabitha inquired. "Always," I said, incredibly appreciative of their steadfast assistance. My joy momentarily dimmed when I noticed Jackson cautiously coming up the street. He didn't appear like the haughty man who used to brush off my fantasies. He looked tired. "Scarlett," he whispered quietly as he came to a careful halt a little distance distant. "Can we talk?" I paused for a moment, sensing Celeste supported me by gently squeezing my arm. I took a step forward and looked him in the face. "What is there to say, Jackson?" He shifted uneasily and groaned. "I simply wanted to say I'm sorry." "Almost anything." What I said. "My family's actions. I'm attempting to make things right." He apologized, but it felt like a token attempt to calm his conscience. I gave a hard yet gentle shake of my head. You cannot simply apologize and hope that everything will be better. Amends refer to deeds rather than words. He gave a hesitant nod, displaying real regret. However, I was aware that looks are not always reliable. What should I do then? As I turned back to face the bustling community center, I saw families rediscover optimism. Change things for someone else. Do it because it's right, not because you want forgiveness. Jackson walked away silently, his footsteps trailing off in my wake. I took a big breath and went back to my pals feeling stronger than ever. "Are you okay?" Celeste whispered. "I'm more than okay. I said with assurance, grinning widely at the lively town and busy bakery we had restored. Here, we created something amazing. Justice is served here. Sweet, real justice.